All right, you guys know we've been dealing with linear equations. We're going to talk about two other ones today. Some special cases with where lines are graphed. We're going to talk about vertical lines and horizontal lines. Okay? Vertical lines, you know, travel north to south, up and down, not just one direction. Okay, up and down. Okay, so vertical lines are going to be the first one that we look at. Okay, so a vertical line is written in the form of x equals a. Okay, where a represents the line's x-intercept. All right, now I want to talk about that for just a second. When you have a graph and it crosses the y-axis, I want y'all to think about that for a second. When you have a graph or a graphed line, I'm asking you a question, and it crosses the y-axis, what is that called at the point where it crosses the y-axis? You have a graph on a coordinate plane, and the line that you graph crosses the y-axis. The point, do what? That is the y-intercept, okay? So just like we talked about on Tuesday, if you have a graph, okay, and you graph this line, and it crosses the x-axis, what do you think that point will be called where it crosses the x-axis? X-intercept, okay? So that's where this comes in at, guys. X equals a. That is where it crosses the x-axis, okay? So if we're looking here, and we're looking at this line right here, okay? Where does it cross the x-axis? At 3. So that would be x equals a positive 3. It is that simple. Okay? All right, looking at the second one. That is vertical lines, okay? Because vertical lines are up and down, right? What is the only axis a vertical line can cross? If it's going straight up and down, what's the only axis it will cross? The x. That's the only way. Now, it may be on the y-intercept, but it won't cross the y-intercept. Okay? So the only one that it can cross is the x-intercept. All right, now the next one that we're going to look at is the horizontal lines. Okay? Horizontal lines are side to side, left to right, right to left. Okay? So a horizontal line is written in the form of y equals a. Okay? Where a represents the line's y-intercept. Okay? And that is just where the line that has been graphed crosses the y-axis. You guys should be familiar with that. Okay? So if you have a line going side to side, left to right, or horizontal, what is the only axis that it will cross? The y. Okay? So if we're looking here, and we are looking at this line, this graph, right there, where does it cross the y-axis at? The negative 1. So that would be y equals negative 1. Are we good there? Very simple. All right, we're going to look at just a couple here together. All right, and I'm going to ask you some questions, and all I need for you to do is answer and then put these on your document as well. Does that sound pretty simple? All right, this line right here, is it vertical or horizontal? Vertical. Good. Does it cross the x-axis or the y-axis? X. So that means it's going to be x equals, and where does it cross at? Negative 2. Very simple. We good there? All right. Number 2. This line right here, is it horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. Does it cross the x or y-axis? Y-axis. So that's going to be y equals, and where does it cross the y-axis? 3. Is that pretty simple? All right, let's look at number 3. We are looking, don't get confused, but we're looking at this line all the way down here. Is that horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. Does it cross the x or y axis? Crosses the y. And where does it cross the y at? -5. Are we good so far? Good. Let's look at 4. We're looking at this line right here. Vertical or horizontal? Vertical. Does it cross the X or Y axis? So it's going to be X equals, and we're at 4. 4 positive, 4 negative. Good. All right, number 5. We are looking at, do not get confused. I want you to think just a second. We are looking at this line right there. Is that vertical or horizontal? Vertical. Not a trick question. What is the axis that it crosses? Is 0 an axis? It crosses the x-axis. Okay. At what? 0. So x, yes, you are correct with the 0. X equals 0. Does it cross the y-axis? Does it lay on the y-axis? Yes. Okay. All right. And number 6. This line right here. Horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. Good. All right. Does it cross the x or y axis? Y. And we're at 2. Everybody good there? Yes, no, maybe? Yes. Good. All right. Look at number 7 real quick. We're going to graph the vertical and horizontal lines. All right. So it's very simple. Again, I'm just going to use my line tool. All right, here, it tells us what axis that it crosses and where at. So that's about as simple and easy as it gets. Okay? What axis does this cross? Y. And where at? -5. So simply come to -5. And there we go. We good there? Now, it may help if you guys zoom into the graph. It may look like there's a whole bunch of lines there if you're zoomed out, but if you guys will zoom in, that will help greatly. All you have to do is zoom in just a little bit. Okay? All right, look at number 8. What axis does it cross? X. And where does it cross the x-axis at? 1. So here's that a vertical or horizontal line? Vertical. We're good there. All right, look at number 2. What axis does it cross? X. We're at 3. Will that be vertical or horizontal? Vertical. Good. It only crosses the x-axis if it's what type of line? Vertical. All right, and 10. What axis is it crossing? And we're at 8. Everybody good there? All right. All right, now looking at part 2, guys. We finished up with the vertical and the horizontal lines. Now we're just going to do some graphing. Okay, what you guys are going to do on your own. 1, you're going to graph the following linear equations. That's all I want for you to do. Now, you can graph these 2 different ways like we talked about earlier this week. 1, you can graph them by their intercepts, the x and the y. My personal preference, I feel like that's the easiest. Okay? Or you can solve them and set them up in slope-intercept form and then graph them that way. It is totally your preference. That is why I underlined only graph the following linear equations. I don't care if it's by intercepts. I don't care if it's by putting them in slope-intercept form. Are we good there? All right. Scroll on down to 9 through 12. Okay? 9 through 12, guys, you're going to graph the following horizontal and vertical lines. Pretty simple. It's either horizontal or it's vertical. It tells you what axis it crosses, and it tells you where. All you guys have to do is graph the line on those. Questions? All right. Yes.
Okay, so you know number 1 where it's -y?
Yes.
You have to put the y. So you have to make that into, I don't know how to describe it.
You will leave it as -y.